seeing that glass panel going inside that pocket is very satisfying. Sorry, I was just speaking my mind. It took us a lot of work to get to the point of having a door, and I am still not used to see it. But today's episode is about this machine. A machine that beats you in a way that I will not wish it even to my worst enemy. Well, to a couple of people, yes. It seems like a completely harmless machine. I mean, I think I have seen housewives use it, but I'm not proud of these images, but that was the reality. I rented the machine and had never used it in my life before that. The idea was to sand, seal and polish the whole concrete floor of the house, but I could only do that if I ever controlled the machine. Lowering the handlebars below my hip and holding it by pushing against it lightly with the hips and with extended arms kinda did the trick. After a good 20 minutes fighting with the machine, feeling like I was taming a bull, I was able to sort of control it, not to a 100%, but I needed to do 180 square meters of a house, so I needed to start at some point. All this test was just to try to learn how to use the machine, but I was actually using the brushing disc, which is not the disc that I need to use. For the first phase of this floor treatment, I needed to actually sand the floor. I will be using these Deepex concrete cleaning pads. They have different grades from 100 to 400, and I will start with the 100 grit one to open up the pores of the concrete so it absorbs the treatment better. These pads are made of a compound of diamond and resin, and they are designed to be used while wet. I use this foam pad to stick it to the machine. On one side I stick it to the Velcro plate of the actual machine, and on the other side is sticked to the Deepex cleaning pad. And then I protected the aluminum door frame with tape. And decided to actually cover it with this wooden step in case that I hit the door with the machine. This machine has a liquid tank here that I'm gonna use now for water, and if you press here, you open a valve and you release water. And since you need to actually sand the first 3 passes with water, I'm gonna just put it here and see how it works. Of course it leaks, that's why I never rent machines, I always buy them. As you could see, I was able to control the machine right when I was about to hit the wall, and after that I started feeling more and more the machine. After a few seconds I stopped to see if the result was good. I had been very worried about sanding with 100 grit because it's very coarse and it might damage the concrete, or that's what I thought. It felt like a lot to me, and I did not want to over sand, as I really do not like the look of sanded concrete with exposed aggregate. It's just a question of taste, and in my personal taste is that I really dislike it. But the Deepex team encouraged me to try sanding with the 100 grit for the first pass, as it sands the concrete deep enough to help the densifier penetrate deeply in the concrete, and at the same time remove any possible irregularity that you have in the concrete. Here is how it looked after the first pass. And now the real work started. I thought sanding was gonna be the hard part, but I needed to vacuum all the cement water, clean the floor very well, and let it dry completely before applying the densifier, and that proved to be the real job in this task. I bought this cheap vacuum that can vacuum water, just because I did not want to destroy my fancy vacuum, and it seemed like a very dirty job for a nice vacuum, and it was definitely a great idea and it paid off. After I successfully wet sanded the workshop with the 100 grit and cleaned it, I moved on to the house. I started in the sunken living room. We did finish this floor very nice on concrete pour day, even though it was a nightmare of the day. I don't know if you guys remember. But somehow the floor came out absolutely perfect. So sanding it now with the 100 grit was very easy. The kitchen area though, where I'm standing right now, was a little rougher. During the pour day, the temperatures were so hot that we struggled to polish the concrete. So now the machine, while sanding, was removing a lot of cement. You can see it here. I got to this point where when we pour the concrete, we got these rough spots. You see these rough dots? Some of them are small, some of them are larger, and it's rough, as you can see if I do like kind of sandpaper. All this time, you know, this is pretty much the most important floor of the whole house. Is the kitchen area where you access from the main door. And you know, I made my peace with it, but now, as you can see, when I pass the machine, it cleans it up, man. All this cement water that you see here is because the machine is passing by, like for example here, it didn't pass yet, and you can see the spots, but like anywhere here, they're gone, man. It's like soft as a glass, super soft. So I think we're gonna be able to remove all these spots today. What? Guys, yesterday it was a workout, man. I finished like at midnight or so, but cleaning this was a workout. It looks pretty damn good if you ask me, but as you can see, it's a layer of white dust still, so I'm gonna mop it once again. I wanted to have the floor as clean as possible before applying the densifier. The Deepex concrete densifier is basically a liquid that penetrates in the concrete through the pores of it and compacts and densifies the first few centimeters of surface, making it much harder, stronger, and dust-proof, to withstand the future everyday use and not to have dust all over the place inside the house. it is not an actual sealant or a layer that you can remove by sanding, because it actually gets inside the concrete. It is applied with a spray and a mop. I found this 2-in-1 mop that has a spray in it, and it seemed like a great idea. You know, I could put the liquid in the actual machine and just press this lever, and I will spray the liquid onto the floor while I was mopping it. It was kind of a stretch, it didn't work too good, and then, you know, after 5-10 minutes pressing that lever, my forearm was burning. The way that I needed to do it was to wet the floor without creating puddles and make sure that the floor was 100% soaked for at least 15-20 minutes. So if I saw an area that dried faster because of the concrete sucked the liquid faster, I will go back and apply more densifier to make sure that all areas were wet for an extended period of time and that I had actually saturated the pores of the concrete. After letting it dry completely, I prepared to sand by hand some areas. I will be using these diamond polishing pads. I got myself also a new grinder on which I can adjust the rotation of the pad. So instead of going always super fast, like 2500 revolutions per minute, I can put it a little bit slower so I can polish the floor without actually grinding it. I started by fixing all the edges of the sunken living room. Eugenia did a great job on these edges when we poured the concrete, and we just needed to finish it off lightly to remove all the undesired marks and lines and leave it as smooth as a baby's butt. I did the same on the concrete fireplace bench. I was not feeling like polishing it with the big polisher, as I did not think it was very wise to put the big machine on top of this step, so I finished it by hand. After I finished with the sunken living room, I went ahead and sanded all the perimeter around the base of the walls, since the big machine does not get 100% to the bottom of each wall, and I need to do it by hand. And then I wet sanded the whole floor once again, this time with 200 grit. I get asked a lot about why Eugenia is not always in the videos helping with the build, and there is a very simple reason for that. She has been working very hard on her business to help pay for the build, so so we can keep building debt free. And she has been spending a lot of time sitting on her desk, whether it's making the new scarves and scrunchie collection that she hands make herself, working on fulfilling online orders, or editing her videos in front of the computer. So as the workshop of the house is almost ready, now I thought it was the perfect moment to get her something that will change our lives in the near future and give her a taste of the life that is awaiting for us in just a few months from now. Having a full-size desk with height adjustment is something that we have been looking forward to have for a long time. It does not compare to our current desk at all. Being able to adjust the height and custom tune it for your own specific needs is just an amazing feature, and having the option to stand up from time to time is very nice as well to break the routine. After setting the whole thing up and testing it myself, I show it to her. She truly loved it, and we cannot wait to get the workshop ready to move our office in that space. I got her the FlexiSpot E7 Plus desk and the matching C7 ergonomic chair in case that you are interested in getting one for yourself or for your beloved one. Alright, no time to celebrate yet, as I still needed to do a lot of work. I had rented the machine for 5 days, and this was already the 5th day, so my calculations on how long this process was going to take were very off, which is normally the case. Normally, if I think something is gonna take me a week to build, normally it takes 2 weeks. If I think it's gonna be a month, normally it takes 2 months. So, you know, it's always like that. But, you know, it's all good as long as I get it done. Alright guys, we just finished sanding this exterior corridor, as you could have seen. The idea was to do it after the house, but basically tomorrow is gonna be raining and it's gonna rain for like a week or so. So we want to apply the densifier today, because you need to apply the densifier with good weather, you know, it cannot be humid. The floor needs to be completely dry. So we only have today to do it. So I asked Eugenia for help. I'm not very proud of this, but look at how the shed is. Yeah. I normally don't like showing this, but this is what my week looked like. It's a representation of my last 7 days. This is the garden tool that I'm stealing from here. Do like this. As we got a lot of densifier left, we decided to give the house a second coat. It is not something that you need to do per se, with one layer should be more than enough, but since we had a big bottle, the Deepex team recommended us to apply a second coat to make the floor extra hard. This time we used Eugenia's spray backpack, And I'm gonna double check if that's how you say that word. It is actually called backpack sprayer, so I was very close. I'm gonna be using Eugenia's backpack sprayer, and it made a big difference. She wanted to be the one in charge of spreading the liquid with the mop, as it looked more fun than spraying, so I ended up being the one in charge of the spray. The backpack made the whole process much faster and easier, and having a second person helping does help a lot. After completing the house, we applied a second coat to the exterior corridor as well. It didn't completely dry off yet, and look who came. Lolita, no te puedo poner que está mojado. Venga, salte del corre. Lolita, you like it? After letting the first densifier coat to completely dry for a few hours, we came back and now wet sanded using the 200 grit disc, cleaned it all and let the floor dry completely, and after that we applied the second layer of densifier to the corridor. Next day I came back and gave it the first dry sanding. I started at 400 grit, vacuumed the whole thing and gave it another pass that I did not film, this time with 800 grit, and after all that we applied the final sealer to the exterior corridor. The next day I came back and buffed the floor, which is the last step of the treatment, and the exterior floor was all done. Now we needed to finish the interior of the house. First we dry sanded at 400 grit. Cleaned the whole house. Dry sanded again with 800 grit and clean the whole thing. And I also cleaned all the concrete joints to remove all the dirt and dry dust that had accumulated after 12 days of sanding. With the floor now clean and nice, we applied the final sealer to the house floor. We ended up picking a water-based sealer for the floor, this Deepex one. There are many reasons why, but one of the main ones was because we wanted to have a matte or lightly satin finish. We decided against a glossy floor a while ago, and a penetrating water-based sealant allows us to choose the finish that we want. For example, if we stop sanding at 800 grit and buff it, the floor had exactly the finish that we wanted. If you, for example, keep polishing at 1500 grit or even more with 4000, then your floor will be more polished, but never as much as when using an epoxy sealer or a solvent-based sealer. Alright, I debated to finish the video right there with the high of the finished product, but you know, the job was not 100% finished. Yes, it looked good and I could have ended the video there, but it is the details that make a difference between a good job and a fantastic one, and I always strive for fantastic. So I decided to include this last part where I use this little tube made of solid foam. I inserted it in the control joints of the concrete, the ones that I cut after we poured the concrete, so the foam will support the sealant that I'm about to apply. And then tape the joint, like my life depending on it. And sealed all the joints with silicone. And although I chose to continue the video after the high of showing the final finished product, I don't feel like ending the video just with me filling a joint, so I come bearing a very big gift to all of you that made it to the end of this video. We just shot and edited a full tour of the house and we have released it in Eugenia's YouTube channel. It is actually showing a much more advanced state of the house with the interior almost finished, but I'm trying my best to catch up here with the videos in this channel.
Hello everybody, today I'm going to do a tour of the new house and I'm going to start in the entrance, but let me take you to the actual entrance of the property. Because the property is on a hill, we had to think this project on different levels. The upper level is the parking area, and once that we go down the parking area, we access the property through this passage, and this passage is what divides the working area from the actual house. And now we will have the entire living area in this side, and in this side is going to be our working space, but we wanted, once that we came into the property, to see it right away, so the building wouldn't block the view of the property, which is quite beautiful. But let me take you to the north part, which is where we will access the private patio and where the entrance of the house it is. Now we are in the north part of the building, and right here we will have a private door and we will access the private patio.